It's no secret that Spider-Man hasn't had the best track record when it comes to gaming. I'm not here to point fingers, but let's be honest, it's Activision's fault. Activision released 13 Spider-Man games from 2001 to 2014. Obviously, not every title was bad, but that's because some developers were passionate and managed to pull something off within a small time frame. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 would be the last Spidey game published by Activision, and it was met with a negative reception from both fans and critics alike. Fast forward only 2 years later, and Spider-Man PS4 was unveiled for the first time at E3 2016, and people went crazy. Insomniac Games, the same people who made Ratchet & Clank, Spyro the Dragon, and Sunset Overdrive, were now creating a Spider-Man game. Not only that, but Insomniac chose to work on it. Marvel and PlayStation let them pick any Marvel character, and the studio decided on Spidey. This game was made because they were fans. They wanted to create something special, and they did. Being Spider-Man can be tough when you have to keep your identity hidden from so many threats, but thankfully you don't have to worry about that with NordVPN. NordVPN is a program that protects your data and privacy when surfing the web. It's compatible with Windows, macOS, iOS, Android, and Linux. Not to mention, it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Use code UbiCentral and get 70% off NordVPN, which works out to $3.49 a month. Head over to nordvpn.com/UbiCentral to learn more. The story of Marvel's Spider-Man is amazing from start to finish. Martin Lee, aka Mr. Negative, was a perfect choice as a villain. I had no idea who he was before this game, but that's what made it interesting. I wanted to find out more about him, and I did. The way Insomniac went about his origin story was creative because it tied into Norman Osborn and Doc Ock. And I just like how they changed some things up as well. Peter's working with Dr. Octavius, Mary Jane is a reporter at the Daily Bugle, Miles Morales is in the same universe, and he's helping out at Feast with Aunt May. And of course, I can't even forget Spider-Man's suit. I mean, the design of this is fantastic. I love the white spider, the eyes, literally, it's just perfect. But even if you somehow don't like it, you can always just switch to one of the many suits in this game. You can wear the Homecoming suit, the Raimi suit, his classic one. There are so many different options, and the best part about this is that they'll show up in most of the cutscenes. I do want to expand on the story a bit more. I absolutely loved Mary Jane and Peter's relationship. One scene that really stuck out with me is when they're having a text message conversation and things just get lost in translation. It just felt so real and not even forced. Obviously, most people could tell that they were going to get back together, but it was just great to watch. I also have to talk about Peter and Aunt May. It's funny because if you watch any of the MCU Spider-Man movies, Aunt May isn't really a thing. I mean, she'll be there from time to time for some comedic effect, but honestly, she doesn't have an impact on Peter's life, at least that we see. Meanwhile, in this game, she actually does something. Not only is she running Feast, which is important to so many people, but she's always there for Peter. She helps out with Miles, and because of all this, when the ending came around, I got emotional. Insomniac treated her like an actual character and not a stereotype. Also, yeah, that ending. I did not expect Aunt May to pass away at all. Even when she was sick, I was like, oh, we're just gonna find a cure, everything's gonna be alright. No. Peter was forced to pick between saving his aunt or people in the city. The voice acting, the writing, oh my god, just Insomniac really created something special and took risk. Now listen, I know I just praised the hell out of the story because it is really good, but I do have to talk about one character, and that's Silver Sable. Again, for the most part, the writing in this game is perfect, but this character just didn't have to be in the game. She did nothing useful. Literally throughout the entire game, she always messed up. Bad guys escape her custody multiple times, MJ sneaks into a building that she and her guards are protecting, and these guys get destroyed by the demons all the time. I never felt like she was a threat. She was just there to move the plot forward, and at the end, she just leaves the city, but her mercenaries are still there. It's not good. I also felt like there was just too many villains. Kingpin was fine at the start, but then they throw in Rhino, Shocker, Vulture, Electro, and you just don't really care about them because they're not important to the story. They're just kind of thrown in to make the ending more action-packed. But honestly, when I fought them, I was like, I guess it's a cool boss fight, but there's no impact or emotion to it. You're just fighting them. Compare that to Mr. Negative, and it's an entirely different scenario. I cared about what was going to happen, and more importantly, what was going to happen after each fight. Each battle felt intense, and honestly, the sequences were really well done. I don't know. On one hand, these villains added playtime to the game, and it's not like the boss battles were bad, but on the other hand, I just wish they were implemented better from a story perspective. At the end of the day, this is one of the best Spider-Man stories, but listen, the greatness doesn't stop there because the gameplay is just as praiseworthy. I don't even really know where to start. The web swinging is perfect. Webs actually attached to buildings, the movement is so on point, you can do tricks, and it's just addicting. There's a fast travel option in this game, and I bet no one used it because swinging around the city is the best part. And then there's just small details that I really appreciated as well, like you can see inside buildings, there's actual people on rooftops, music will kick in as you start to go faster, but then even when you're not swinging around, the streets of New York City are filled with people that take pictures of you, compliment you. I mean, some will trash talk because of J. Jonah Jameson, but I don't know. There's a lot of taxis and traffic. It's surprising how good this game looks when you're just walking around, not doing anything. As for the combat, I mean, listen, you already know it's just so good. I was so happy to see a lot of stealth options for the main missions, but honestly, a lot of the time, I just wanted to get on the ground and fight them up front. I can't describe how satisfying it is to take out a bunch of enemies by dodging bullets, sliding under them, throwing them into each other, webbing them up to a wall, throwing things at them. The amount of suit powers you have is crazy, and some of them are just so satisfying. The amount of gadgets you have. Honestly, the best word to describe the combat and web swinging is fluid. I'm also happy they didn't go with a typical counter button like the Arkham games, and I'm not saying that's a bad system. I love the combat from those games, but I'm glad Insomniac didn't just copy and paste it. There's obviously some similarities, but that's not a bad thing. As for Mary Jane, Miles, and Peter, their gameplay and missions were unfortunately not as praiseworthy. For MJ, it just wasn't satisfying. Hiding behind cover and not trying to step on glass was boring and kind of slowed down the pace of the game. I will admit, when she got a taser, it got a bit better, but still. Miles could at least hack some things, but his missions were set up the same exact way. Try not to get caught by people near you. This really wouldn't be a complaint if they just did it once or twice. For example, when MJ breaks into Norman's office, that was a good mission. There was a lot of guards, she had a taser, and was figuring out a puzzle to get into a secret office. Miles had a really good mission when his dad died and he was trying to find him, or even his Rhino mission was good. But then you have parts where he's trying to get to Feast and he's avoiding guards, that didn't really need to be in the game. MJ tried breaking into, what's his name? I think it's Tombstone. I don't know. It didn't need to be there. And as for Peter, he has to solve these puzzles that again just aren't really fun or satisfying to solve. In fact, after a minute or two, the game just lets you skip it entirely, which isn't a good thing. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I have to be doing something crazy exciting every single minute. I actually really like moments when Peter goes to Feast and you just talk to people there. It adds to the worlds. The last thing I have to talk about is the open world. As I mentioned earlier, the web swinging is great, as well as the small details, but I also really appreciate some of the side activities. I would have never guessed that collecting backpacks would be so much fun, but it is. It's addicting. every time I saw that icon pop up, I needed to grab it and just see what it was. And keep in mind, I'm playing on New Game Plus, so I've already done all this before, but I just couldn't stop. And the same goes for the landmarks. I would be on my way to a mission and then I'm like, well, I guess I could take a picture on the way, and then I do. There's so many Easter eggs, from Avengers Towers to Alias Investigations. I'm not going to name every single one, but if you're a fan of Marvel, you're definitely going to be happy. Now, does this game take the Ubisoft radio tower approach? Unfortunately, yes. I would have really liked to see something a bit more unique, but honestly, these collectibles and side activities make up for it. This is probably the biggest map ever for a Spider-Man game, and like I mentioned, the amount of details in the world is crazy. It's absolutely clear that this game was made with love. Insomniac did a fantastic job, and keep in mind, they built this entire game from scratch. So just imagine how good the sequel will be, especially on the PlayStation 5. I honestly can't wait to see the graphics, but also see how they handle Peter and Miles now that they're both Spider-Man. I can't wait to see Harry and where that story goes. The gameplay can only get better. There's just so much to look forward to. I really hope we start seeing more quality Marvel games in the future. I've been saying this forever, but we really need another Punisher game. Volition, the developers of Saints Row, made a really good one in 2004, and they should make another one. Please. Before I forget, I want to end this video talking about that Stan Lee cameo. It was just perfect. It's literally just a few lines of dialogue, but it hits so hard. He's happy to see MJ and Peter back together. This is the only time he shows up, and his character model was obviously done with such care. Just thank you, Insomniac. Thank you, Marvel. Thank you, Stan Lee. Thank you all so much for watching the entire video. I want to give a big shout out to NordVPN for making it possible. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, it really is important that you protect yourself online. NordVPN can help you do just that. I have a special offer for NordVPN that gives you 70% off, which brings the price down to only $3.49 a month. For that price, you get unlimited bandwidth for streaming and gaming, access to more than 5,000 servers in 60 countries, peer-to-peer file sharing, and much more. And the best part is, they don't log or record any of your data. You're fully protected when using NordVPN, and don't forget, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. To get this offer, go to nordvpn.com/UbiCentral or use code UbiCentral. Sign up today and get an extra month completely free. Thanks again to NordVPN for making this video possible. Check them out, links in the description down below.